Welcome back. Thank you all for spending your afternoon with us today and joining us for our last session of our first day of the ACT Tech Summit, Scaling Your Tech Stack. As most of you know by now, but for anyone who might not have been able to join us for our earlier sessions, I'm Ginny Winkworth. I'm ACT's Program Manager. And I just wanted to remind everyone that all attendees are muted, but we do welcome your questions. Please feel free to use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen to submit your questions. We've set aside some time at the end of our discussion to answer those questions. So stick around at the end. Our panelists are going to be happy to answer those, either ones you've input during the session or any questions you'd like to bring up during the actual Q&A portion. So I just want to introduce now Ron Berg, ACT's Executive Director, and he's going to introduce our panel.
Thanks, Ginny. So welcome back, everyone. We've got another great session in store for you to wrap up today's lineup, as Ginny was alluding to. I've been looking forward to this particular session in our ACT Tech Summit because it's going to provide some great insights and a strategic look into agency technology and workflow, all to help you build your leads generation, sales, and operations funnel via your tech stack. So let's get right into it. I'm going to turn it over to Andy Mathisen, Ryan Mathisen, and Sean Mulhern of ACT member GloveBox to have them introduce themselves and start the session. Guys, thank you so much for being here, and take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ron. Well, great to see everyone virtually. My name is Ryan Mathisen. I am the co-founder and CEO of GloveBox.
And I am Sean Mulhern. I am COO here at GloveBox.
And I am Andy Mathisen, Chief Marketing Officer of GloveBox. So excited to have you all today. I think you're going to learn a lot about who we are, what we've done, and why we think we can be helpful for you as you build your agency or wherever you are in the insurance industry. So let's start today by talking a little bit about scaling your tech stack, which is very important in 2021 and going forward. Specifically with myself and our team over here at GloveBox, we're going to focus on the client onboarding process. I think it's important to understand how you can utilize tech, where you are maybe dealing with gaps or overlaps in your process. Just kind of analyze where you're at with your agency. And so we'll talk a little bit about that today.
And I think to Andy's point, it can be a bit daunting to look at how to implement tech into your agency. And we think by really segmenting a part of your process and really starting there will not only identify maybe the best place to get going when looking at implementing tech into your agency, but also giving you a roadmap of how to look at really all of your processes. So really that's our goal today, is to look at that process.
Awesome, guys. So a little bit of a table of contents for you guys, just to understand where we're going to go with this conversation. We're really dividing this into a couple parts. We're really going to kind of dive into a couple of examples. First and foremost, going over our background, what we are, what we've done, and then kind of talk about the intent of our mission and, really want to work on kind of the analysis that you should be doing at your agency and implementation in general. So let's talk about just those things. So who are the individuals speaking to you today? From left to right, Sean Mulhern, Ryan Mathisen, myself, Andy Mathisen. We are the co-founders of GloveBox, which is currently an InsurTech product that you may be familiar with. But in our past life, we owned an agency. So we're former agents and agency owners of a fairly large agency here in Denver, Colorado, that we grew up in. Ryan and myself did at least, and Sean quickly joined as we did back in 2011, 2012. So we do know the insurance space extremely well. We know the independent channel like the back of our hand, and we want to turn around and help independent agents because we knew we were in the trenches. We've done it. We've seen it and lived it and breathed it. And so it's important to us and we're passionate about it. And we just, guys, you chime in on just that. That's an important piece of it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. We got in, we took a different approach. We hustled, we figured out ways to shave seconds and minutes off of literally every single process to make ourselves more efficient. And the more efficient we became, the more time we could reallocate towards different income producing activities. That kind of sums it up for me.
But I think a lot of the times with agents, they hit a ceiling, or they feel like it's a ceiling because there's only so much time in the day. And I think time is the biggest asset of an independent agent. And really, when you look at ways and concepts of being able to inject technology into your agency to give you time back, all of a sudden that ceiling you thought you hit is much higher. We never thought we'd be able to grow a $100 million agency, but once we identified processes that were wasting massive amounts of time, money, and resources within the agency, it helped us to accelerate significantly. So I think really looking at your agency, and everybody kind of hits those ceilings or what they think are ceilings, and understanding that looking at these processes and again, ways to inject technology will significantly increase that ceiling of what you think your agency can hit. I think, guys, you'll agree, our agency scaled in a pretty snowballed in a quick fashion, where it grew quite a bit faster and quite a bit larger than we ever anticipated. And it was purely because of the daily activities that we decided to automate. And look at
actually, sorry to interrupt you there, Ryan, but I remember your mantra when I got started with people was someone would hit 30K in production, new business production in a month. And you'd ask them, hey, how hard was that? And they'd say, oh my gosh, it felt like a lot. But then you would tell them the only difference between you doing 30K a month and 60K a month is process.
Yep.
And sure enough, as they started to shave off little bits here, get a little better there, that 50K and 60 and 70K that they were doing felt exactly the same to them.
Yeah. One thing I think is interesting too is, at our agency specifically, we did not use a lot of tech, did we? I mean, Sean, you probably use the most, and we'll talk about what that was and what that is, as you look back. But it's interesting to say, like, hey, we would analyze our process. We would figure out where we were working too hard on certain areas where we need to shift our focus, or hey, we're spending too much time and money on these certain areas, which we'll also talk about today. But
yeah,
we didn't use a lot of tech, which is circling back around.
Well, there wasn't a lot of available, to your point, Andy. I mean, we didn't have a lot available to us in 2016, 17. And so I think it was important. We'll obviously jump into the concepts here of what we're discussing, but I think Sean being a champion for the agency of kind of leading the way of saying, hey, I'm going to test these out, see how they work. If they work, great. I'm going to spread them. If they don't, no time lost, except for Sean's, which, hey, thank you, Sean,
no big deal,
for being the punching bag on that one. But yeah, I'm excited to dive into this session. So Andy, take us forward.
Let's do that. So let's specifically, as I mentioned in the beginning, this onboarding process, it's vital. It's important to your agency more than you even know. Making sure that when you bring in a client, you spent a lot of time and probably some money on that lead, and you don't want that to come in the front door and go out the back. And so this piece is, honestly going to change your agency for the better if you really dive in and put in a deep, dedicated process. And so we want to kind of break that down for you and how we think it should be done. So just really identifying the reasons why you need to introduce your policyholders into your agency properly. And so kind of first and foremost, spending the time today on the front end so that when, 6 months from now they call in, they're not confused, because the independent channel is confusing for clients. Think about it. They came from Allstate, State Farm, American Family. They had a one-to-one relationship with their agent. Now they're coming to you, and it's a one-to-many relationship because they work with you, but you wrote them elsewhere. And now the client has to understand who is who, who's my agent, who's my service rep, who is my carrier, where do I go for what? And so dedicating the time on the front end of the relationship to describe that process and making sure that it's very clear so you alleviate any of the confusion. Guys, what do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've talked to agencies, and we were, a victim of it as well. There's only so many times you can tell your client after you onboard them, hey, call or email me if you need anything. You can't scale an agency by telling your clients to call you or emailing you whenever they need something, and that's your welcome to the agency. That will go awry very quickly. And that's part of that ceiling we talked about that agencies hit. That's part of the reason why they hit that ceiling, because you multiply that by 500 clients. And what are your clients going to do when they need something? They're going to call and email you. And now
what
you
are
have
you
to
going to do? Not answer the phone.
Well, you can't possibly answer the phone because you're inundated. And so to this point, setting this up properly on the front end, which is a little bit more work. Obviously, if we inject technology into the process, it will help. But I promise you on the back end, it will pay significant dividends. Training your clients on how you operate is inherently important to our channel. They do not understand the relationships. They're new to the process. Even if they've been in the process, you can't rely on the prior agent did a good job of this. So really introducing them to what you do, how you operate, how your agency is going to help them navigate, and where they can get the resources that they need without hopefully having to call or email you every time they need something. So yeah,
essentially
really
your agency is a product in itself. No two agencies run the same way, operate the same way. And if you're implementing some cool new tech or some cool new ways to onboard or service or really do anything, you have some unique products that are out there. You guys are a product already. So giving someone your product tour, this is how our agency works. This is what makes us unique, makes us different. It's really going to set your agency apart when they potentially want to look at the guy down the street who just shoots them off a quote. And that's it. You're providing that nice touch of, hey, here's who we are, here's how we operate. This is why you want to choose us. You start to eliminate a lot of objections as well when you do that, because people see why they want to go with you.
So it's nice not to have any, I shouldn't say any, but a lot of manual work that goes into this first process here. Having some sort of automation, having some sort of campaign that does a good job of, again, that simple message to describe and lay of the land at your agency. This is how we operate, whether it's an email campaign, a text message campaign. And by the way, it's nice to get clients to opt into text messaging. So that's a good place to start as well. But just whether it's a central place to go, hey, let me go do a quick review of my website for you so you understand a little bit more about us.
Andy, I think the biggest mistake agents make when they automate this process is they don't take the campaign past one email. Like they'll send a welcome email. How many times have we seen one email and we're like, yeah, not a good time. I can't look at that email right now. I'm at work, I'm with my kids. You need to send multiple emails. This is a training process, right? You can't go to the gym once and think you're going to be in shape. Like you got to train your clients on how you operate, and it can't just be a single email. This has to be an automation sequence or an automation sequence combined with a client portal such as GloveBox. This is not a promo, but it's just a reality. You have to be able to keep your processes in front of your clients, and the first 30 days are critical. And that's where they buy into your culture of how you operate. So just one email does not get the job done with this. It has to be a campaign. It has to be a structured sequence, and it has to make sense.
Yeah, I think, when we were at the agency, we would have that welcome email go out, but then there was always this date and time, maybe a week later, where you're checking back in one more time to make sure everything makes sense, that everything is going well so far. And then just kind of that final touch point before you kind of let them go off and do their thing for the remainder of their policy term. So
I mean, I'm a firm believer on this part too, like quickly segmented videos that are 30 seconds to a minute. And you could send those out every 3 to 4 days for the first 2 weeks. Different segments of how you operate.
Yep.
It's little bite size, not too much information. Quickly, oh, cool. I have that process. Oh, that's how they handle that. And then you start to tee up Andy's next point, products. Then you can start teeing up future business and cross sells and referrals and all of that stuff within these bite-sized videos that you're dripping via email. So
nice. That's excellent. So yeah, kind of leading into step 2 here, products. There's a good chance that when a lead came in and they asked for an auto quote, a lot of independent agents simply just quote that auto and sell that piece of business. They're probably not doing an excellent job of asking about all the other lines of business that they could be selling at that household. And so by the way, we're personal lines through and through for the most part. Ryan and Sean did a lot of commercial for the last year of our term at the agency. So I talk a lot of personal lines. So bear with me on that. But having this established process where you describe to your client all the products you sell. Hey, we sell home, auto, life, toys, umbrella, whatever it may be, making sure they understand that, hey, if you're not going to buy this other product line today because you came here for auto, at least you know that we're here for all these other product lines.
If you're not bringing those products up, you just have to ask yourself why. Are you afraid? Are you trying to just get the deal done? You don't want to bring up the umbrella commercial. You don't want to bring up the cyber. you're shooting yourself in the foot. You're again, going back to your agency as a product. When someone reaches out to your agency and they want to talk to you, they are coming to you because you're the professional. If you position it as, hey, here's what we do, maybe right now the time is perfect to take a look at this umbrella. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's perfect to look at the cyber, but I'm going to bring it up. It's not my job to tell you not to buy it, but it is my job to present this to you so that you can't come back and tell me I never did it. So when you're presenting it, you look like a professional, and when that person, again, thinks about you, thinks about your product as an agency and thinks about how you handle their insurance is a speed bump. They want to get in, they want to get out, they want you to give them the answer. It's like if I go to the doctor and I've got a couple questions, I don't want to be digging and going, wait a minute, you're telling me I could have taken something to fix that? You didn't tell me because you were afraid I was not going to buy it. That's not going to work. You've got to bring these products up because, again, when you bring them up, they're in the back of their head. They know they're there. And again, if you are welcoming them to your agency through these video campaigns, through text, through email, well, then it doesn't seem odd that you're reaching back out to tell them about a new product and reminding them about the product that you brought up. You're talking to them, you're making a relationship with them. You're not just selling something to get them in the door and then hitting them a couple months later for more product. You're showing them that you're a resource, you're here, you're ready to help them when they need it.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I would bring up a couple things on that to elaborate on that. We always said at our agency, don't sell out of pocket, right? What you might not buy is not what they might not buy or buy. It's called selling out of pocket. So stop judging your clients and prospects based on what you think they should buy, because that's not how it works. Secondly, with this, I think bringing it up front is instrumental, of course. How do we keep our product menu in front of our clients for future needs, right? I think that's something that agents miss 100% of the time. Oh, we listed it on our website. How often are your clients looking to navigate over to your website? Not often. Never. Right? So how are they going to know at the time of when I need life insurance that I need to go to my current agent because I know that they sell life insurance? 9 times out of 10, they're looking for a referral or they're going onto Google trying to find an easier, simpler way to buy life insurance as an example. And so looking to automate this process of different touch points in your specific client's life cycle is imperative. To say, oh, last conversation with my team, they said something interesting. They're having a kid, they're buying a home in the next 6 months. That should be a tag that sends an automation of saying, hey, I remember you were buying a home. You need life insurance. We do life insurance. Again, not a promo for GloveBox whatsoever, but a digital marketplace that lives in their pocket on their cell phone at all times. At the point of where they service their business is hugely valuable. People, especially people that are, they learn more with visuals. They like something to interact with. They're going to remember if they see something of like, oh, my agent sells life. My agent does personal cyber. I may not need it now, but it's going to be something that I'm thinking about and could be purchasing in the future. So agents do a terrible job at keeping their menu in front of their clients. This is a huge junction of where technology can be implemented to make sure that your clients know exactly what you sell and where they can get it. So
nice. It sounds like just an extension of that first campaign on spending the time now, making sure you have a good campaign and kind of letting that last. Again, just informing that client of what else you do and how you can help later down the road. All right, let's continue the thought here. So, I say this quite a bit. So success in the independent channel is measured by things you control with the client experience. So this client experience is everlasting. It's just kind of like every time we have a touch point with a client, how is that experience? All right. And so as it says, by taking action on the front end, you increase your chances on the back end. And that kind of alludes to keeping them in-house as long as possible. Retention means everything. So let's just kind of continue down the bullet points here. So referrals. If you're doing a great job on the first conversation, the second conversation, you're finding out more about their life, they have family and friends here in town, whatever that may be, you're going to do a good job of not only just making sure that they know that you like referrals, but you ask for referrals. So let's take this extra step to actually get a couple of referrals after you did a good job, you made the sale, and you're actually receiving a compliment, which is the first opportunity. Everyone loves that line. The favorite compliment or the best compliment I can receive is a referral. Well, then take action on that and actually, ask for it.
Here's what I hate that agents do about looking for referrals. It's my number one faux pas when it comes to asking for referrals. they don't train their clients on how to send them referrals.
Nice.
Like, it's literally like, you know, hey, I need some work done on my house, but I'm gonna let you figure it out. Like, let me know what you find, you know? Like, how can you expect someone to refer you out if they don't know how to refer you out?
Yeah.
Like, what do? Do I give them their phone number? They call you? Do they call the service team? Like, who do they call the website? Like, how do they do it? So I think, and again, this is part of the process of staying in front of your clients and finding good ways to do that, whether it be automation, technology, you know, whatever it is. But telling your clients how to refer you out is instrumental, because people in their minds, they need to be walked through how you want that process done. It makes it much more simple for them, that results in significantly more referrals. If they know how to do it A to Z, I'm going to do it more, because, okay, cool. He said to go grab their app, press this button and get a quote. Or they said, hey, I'm going to, forward them this link and they can go to my quote capture and that's where it is, or whatever it is your process is for getting referrals. But training your clients on how to send you referrals is much more important than asking for the referral. So that's like
Ryan, with that, just like your analogy of going to the gym once, how often do you think you need to be training your clients to send referrals?
Well,
is it one time you tell them once and they got it, or?
That's the best part, man. Agents are like, well, I asked for the referral, but that was 2 years ago. It's like, think about all the touch points you've had with your clients since, and you didn't ask for any referrals. And again, to elaborate, you didn't make it easy to refer you out. Like,
this goes for referral partners too. It's often overlooked. One thing I did with referral partner marketing is at the end of every single email, it was a stock. Here is how I would like you to send me referrals. And here are the 3 different ways you can do it.
Yep.
Which one fits your needs best? And a lot of people would say, this seems a little redundant. And then I would just say, well, I got a lot more leads than you this month, so I'm going to keep doing it. And so what would be the difference of just putting this as your customer service email signature instead of using, everyone knows the quote that Andy said, the best compliment I can get is this. Fantastic. That's great to know. But what you could do is right under that, you could put, here's the 3 ways we'd like you to refer us out, or here's the easiest way to connect us with your friends and your family.
Yeah.
Here's a link. Make it easy, because everyone's got to remember, this is insurance.
Yeah.
Nobody likes insurance.
Guys, what did we hate about when mortgage brokers referred us out? What was the worst way to refer us out?
I'll send your contact info
phone
on.
number. Yep.
It never worked.
Yep.
Like, it never worked. You have to dictate the process. You send the info to me, and then I reach out to your friend or family. What a white glove service. It's great. And you will convert 10x on your leads. So that,
Would you say by and large, white glove service is much better?
Absolutely. I love white glove service. By and large, I'd say that's, I say by and large a lot. So I
We have a running joke about buying.
I get Raz for it in the office. These guys are brutal.
Okay. All right, let's continue down the path. So obviously we're in this business, we're in the insurance business for renewals. We have this passive income. We're making money on business we wrote 3, 4, 10 years ago, maybe. And that's the best part. We're building a book of business because we brought them in the front door and they're not leaving the back door. So what are you doing to make sure on the front end of your onboarding process that they are not leaving next year? Who wants to kick that one off?
This one's pretty simple. This comes back to how many policies per customer do you have in your agency? More lines of business makes it harder to leave. That's elementary, which all comes back to how are you automating to your clients? How are you cross-selling to your clients? How are you making sure that they understand what you sell? Danny, to personal lines point, hey, I sold the home, but they kept the auto with Geico. Well, most agents quit at that point. And they're like, well, I guess they'll reach out if they ever want to move the auto. You need technology in place for that. You need to ask them, oh, okay, cool. Hey, when does that policy renew offhand? Oh, perfect. Hey, what's the premium on that? Just so I know. These are things that you can be filling into your CRM or your automation system, whatever you're using. Those are very significant touch points of knowing when they renew, knowing their premium, understanding most likely it's going to go up at renewal, because usually premiums don't go down, they go up. These are things that you can gather.
Yeah, and we all know what happens to the retention the more product lines you add to the household. So it's like,
exactly.
And so that kind of all ties in with everything that we've been doing in this discussion. Is it all comes back around to retention.
I think there's another way you can think of this too, specifically with, are you using a CRM? Are you using some sort of tech to take these notes?
Right.
So you can take all the notes like Ryan said, and those are fantastic. You can now set dates when to follow up. If you're getting those deck pages, if you're explaining how you work, how you operate, clients are going to be much more likely to send you their current deck pages because they trust you when you're telling them, here's how we work, here's how we operate. We're not going to sell you if you're not a good fit. But one thing that is kind of the flip side to this is how much business and when do you know to walk a deal and how to walk a deal? If you're taking good notes in your CRM of your conversations and you jump back in and you realize this client looks like they're going to be very difficult, the faster you can move on from them, the faster you're moving on to a better client, because those difficult clients, you're in this for renewals. And I always said this to people I trained and myself, is that if I don't think this person's going to stick around for more than 2 years, I'm
Don't try as hard, yeah.
I'm on to the next, because I'm going to send them what I need, but I'm not going to go over and above to try to win that business, because they're probably on to the next.
Yeah. If you're going to sell monoline business, you're going to struggle, period. And you're going to create more work for your service team, and you're not valuing your business from a time, money, and resource standpoint. If you're selling monoline business, that is a purely transactional business. Your renewals will be quite a bit less. And then even if you're thinking, oh, I'll sell the home now and then I'll send some automation out on the auto. If you didn't discuss it properly up front, you don't have details on that policy, and then you didn't set the expectation with your client of saying, hey, Geico may be the best option now. I can guarantee you it's not going to be the best option in 6 months, and here's why. And then here's what I'm going to do to win that business. Fair enough? And if you set that expectation with your client, now they're more likely to respond to your automated emails saying, hey, it's time. Remember what we spoke about? Now it's time. It's time to move that piece of business over. So yeah, if you're selling monoline business and you're not setting an expectation properly that you're going to get the other lines, you're going to struggle.
I kind of want to take it to elaborate a little more on this campaign that you're going to put together on the front end of the new business transaction. And it's going to include market insight. So like, hey, I know that you're with Geico over there with your auto, but you have your home with me, and we're going to get that auto into our agency later. But I actually learned something about Geico, and maybe that's just recent, and you build a little campaign and you plug it in, and you just let them know about something that you just learned about Geico for, many months down the road. So you can structure this ongoing client rollout campaign to throw in random emails along the way or text along the way to help educate the client on what's going on in the market.
Yeah. How many times have you seen something come out from a competitor carrier? And you're like, oh man, I wish I would have been tracking all my farmers clients or prospects that didn't buy from me. What a great touch point. Like I've been there where I was like, oh, bummer. Like that would have been sweet to have.
Yep.
So. Or of course, when Baker Mayfield comes out with another great commercial and you have to let your client know that this might be a good option for you to switch over.
I don't want to go as far to say that Baker Mayfield's commercials are fire, but I could push it there because
they're very close. They're very good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Can't wait to see which next celebrity comes into the insurance business. But
man, you never know.
Say it, Ryan. We digress. Okay. I just
could be Burt Reynolds or something. Who knows?
Let's talk a little bit about analyzing where you're at currently. So this is one that we could spend a lot of time on, and we're probably just going to kind of break it down pretty simply for you. Where are you spending too much time with your clients from sales to service? Where are you spending too much money or not enough in your process? And where are you spending too much human capital on your process? And so let's start with the first one. Can you eliminate or increase the time spent with a client? Really knowing, all right, did I ensure that I got everything that we just listed above out in front of them? All right, great. How long did that take? Is it a phone call or a 15-minute phone call, or is it a quick email that I drafted that laid everything out? And that's up to you, whatever best practice there. So, kind of where is that time spent, and do I need to increase it or do I need to decrease it? Because by the way, sometimes we spend too much time on the phone with our clients, and that's a reality. You could have been on to the next sale, and that's just because maybe we're long-winded with our approach, or maybe we're just talking about things that the client doesn't necessarily care about. So this is a cadence of understanding your clients and understanding where you're getting the most bang for your buck. So this might take a year or two to ingrain into your process to kind of analyze split B test, like what's working, what's not. Right, Sean? You love split B.
Honestly, this can feel like a daunting one. Everyone feels like they don't have time. Every single person would raise their hand right now and probably say they don't have time.
Sure.
It's just how it goes. There's a very, very easy way to validate that or see where you're wasting it, because no one thinks they're wasting their time. Every time you pick up the phone and take an app, take a call, everyone's got an iPhone, an Android, you can buy a timer, you can put one on your computer, start the timer and just start looking. You don't have to even note the time. Just look at how long your call takes.
Interesting.
You'll be very surprised after 2 weeks that your 17-minute call will go to 12 with you doing absolutely nothing, because you'll forget, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I was on the phone that long. If you do that one thing, just turn a clock on when you are taking a call, taking a nap, doing a quote, doing anything, and just put the timer on, turn it off when you're done and just look at it.
Yeah.
The better step would be to track it, but to look at it will just create some subtle subconscious, okay, that took me longer. Oh man, I noticed that call was a lot shorter. Then your brain is naturally going to realize, oh, I think I'm asking a couple questions right here that are causing 3 to 4 extra minutes that I could probably cut out of this phone call, or I could get there faster.
Yeah, I mean, I relate this back to the onboarding education, and especially with service. Where does the client go to get ID cards, pay a bill, start a claim, make changes, buy more insurance? Like, where do I do all that? Oh, and then you change my carriers, or I've split up, and at the end of the day, as we mentioned, they end up calling or emailing the agency because that's what you told them to do. Hey, call or email me if you need anything. And to Sean's point, if you were to start a clock on each phone call that comes into just the service side and look at how much time are we spending now on the service side because we didn't do a good job of educating the client on the onboarding, and how much of those calls and emails could easily be handled with a piece of technology, I promise it will blow your mind. At our agency, we had 13 to 14,000 service requests a month. We had 35 CSRs, extremely expensive. Each CSR is making 45, 50K plus benefits, recruiting, training, the whole nine. It was amazing. It was truly amazing. We could not keep up with the volume. And if we would have done a better job up front of educating the client, and also if we had the technology available to us to offset some of these, simplistic requests, I mean, I can't even imagine how much bottom line revenue we would have taken home, more salespeople that we could have added, better training for our CSRs for more higher level conversations on cross sells and, full account rounds. It would have been amazing. So.
Said, and kind of moving on to the next piece here is where are you spending too much money in your process? Or by the way, maybe not enough. I'd be curious to find out what people think on this exact question. Do they think they're spending too much money on their process, whether it's getting the lead, whether it's getting it to close, and just that process of, by the way, my time and hours does mean something for money. So what are your thoughts on that, guys?
Getting into insurance has completely, it changed how I thought about cost and money on everything. Any piece of tech, any piece of software, marketing material, co-branding, didn't matter. Even if I wanted to buy something for myself for a gift, I thought of everything in terms of number of deals. Oh, this product is going to cost me $35 a month. Okay, that's one, renter's policy, maybe. Okay, cool. If I can get one renter's policy with this piece of tech, everything else is green. I started thinking of everything in terms of money. Instead of the outlay of cash, it's what's this going to bring into me, and just really flipping how I thought about this, and then what you realize is that if you get the right tech, the right lever, it's going to make you so much more money than it's going to cost you. But sometimes you've got to put it out there for the first 1 to 2 months to get it up and running.
Yep, precisely. And lastly here, where are you spending too much human capital in your process? Are the humans at your agency doing the right thing, the right tasks? Are you maximizing their day-to-day to get the most out of your flow, your process here? And so that's something, again, that's kind of just be a little subjective in your own world, but
this one's, that one's easy. I mean, looking at your processes and seeing where you're generating revenue. Revenue versus non-revenue generating activities. This is easy. So really dialing that in, looking at the processes, especially what we're talking about with onboarding a client, like what produces revenue, what does not produce revenue, and what can be automated.
Cool. So understanding that analysis, it's time to implement. So, like it says here, understand the value of adding to your tech stack. The client experience can make or break the opportunity of a long-term relationship. So with regard to that first one there, preparing, just making sure that you're always enhancing, right? So actually, Sean, you love this topic, just preparing your agency for this potential add-on of tech. What are we doing to prepare our agency for this possible add-on of technology?
Exactly. Yeah. If you're going to adopt any piece of tech, you want it to plug in well with what you currently have.
There you go.
And if you have not been putting your data in, your emails, your phone numbers, your addresses, your names, in a clean way, I'll give you an example. If you're putting a phone number in a phone number field and then you're putting a dash, they like a phone call after 9 in the same field, your data is dead. You can't use it. It's super messy. So make sure you're cleaning up your data. You're getting very strict with your data, because now the world is shifting from, cool, this is just my AMS and this is where it all lives, because now you're going to want to start plugging that into other systems out there. Your CRM, same thing there. You're going to want to put those notes in and just have very clean, concise notes. And an easy way to think of it is, if somebody else were to come in and pick up your notes, would they understand what was done here? And could you export that and pull it into another system?
And not only that, to piggyback, when you create the custom notes like that Sean's talking about, that's good for a human being, but that's not good for technology. Like, a human being is going to read it, technology is not going to read that. So to prepare yourself to implement tech, as Sean said, you got to clean that up.
Will one of you please post about this on LinkedIn after we're getting done here?
I already did. I actually posted a picture, but I drew your guys' faces on, so they're cartoons. So yes. I'm very sorry about that.
Guys, doing your research on what you want to implement, right? So using tools like Agents Council for Technology, obviously what we're doing here. And just, when you kick off and you actually get your technology implemented and plugged into your process and your system, it's time to kind of watch it, right? Keep an eye on how it's doing for you, and be dedicated to making sure that you're implementing well. Don't just buy it and leave it. It's actually going to take a dedicated process and time to implement it well. You guys have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, there's no magic bullet. There's no silver bullet of technology. It's not going to come in a month and change your entire agency. You got to give stuff time to work. You got to watch it grow, and your clients get educated on how it works. Your staff gets educated on how it works. You make a culture, but it takes time. Like, there's not a magic bullet tech that's going to turn your agency around in 2 months. So it's literally giving it time and energy and effort, like Andy's saying, to nurture the product, nurture the tech, and really commit.
Yeah. And all said and done, like everything we're kind of working through here, you're going to see that growth. It's just going to take a little bit of time, but you're going to see that growth, because technology does work well. Implementing it into the front end of your process is going to be huge for your agency. You're going to scale faster than you ever thought you could, just like we did at our agency.
It just creates a huge problem of, like, now I have all this time. Like, what am I going to do?
How am I going to spend all this money?
Like, oh my gosh, it's a problem. We can help with that problem, so it's fine. Nice. That's a separate topic.
That's why we're here. So that being said, that's all we have for today. We will certainly open it up for questions, but Ron, I'm going to let you kind of take it over from here.
All right, guys. Thanks. That was a solid session. Andy, Ryan, and Sean, thank you for that. There are so many great points, and really kind of within the CX journey that ACT focuses on. I really specifically like your thoughts that you shared that tie the white glove service with a digital experience, enhanced and accelerated by an optimized set of processes within the tech stack. Really good insights on training that mindset, on examining everything you're doing, right? And getting everything out of it, from time minimization, optimized processes. Guys, I thought that was really good. And I think it's really going to help independent agents that are listening to this. So thanks again, guys.
Yeah, and we listed that quick contact info there because we like to tell our story. We like to help agents. And that's why we would love to have you reach out and just talk to us about our story and what we can do to help you. We're always available for that.
And to that end, for those that are watching this that were thinking about contacting Ryan, Sean, and Andy, on the profile page, they've got more about them. So we'll make sure that we can get your contact information to them. So at this point, that really ends the presentation part of the session. We'll take your questions using the Q&A function that you see at the bottom of your Zoom screen. So let's do some Q&A. All right. I think we're there. We've got a number of questions that have come in. I'm going to try my best to combine them. We've got about 5-10 minutes for questions here. There was one that just out of the gate, probably top of mind, and it came in a few segments. And I'll ask, I guess, whoever wants to start off with this, if you're applying any ML, machine learning, or AI, artificial intelligence, for predictive analytics, such as growth, value of agency, things like that. Dan, from your end, is that in your wheelhouse?
So it is. Ron, we're actually using some machine learning, but not for necessarily that level of analytics. We're using it for more process machine learning. So a lot of agency mapping, subcode mapping, line of business mapping, because a big portion of our platform is comparing, standardizing, if you will, and comparing carrier to carrier, network to network. So a lot of it has around machine learning from that kind of process.
Okay, Aaron, from your end?
Sure. We spend a lot of time on the digital front end and making sure we understand how people interact with it. So we do things like sentiment analysis, type of natural language processing. And then we've been spending a lot of time on like GPT-3 and actually content creation to go after specific messaging or kind of niches. And it's incredible what you can do with the information. There's a lot of really powerful tools out there today, and we're just scratching the surface.
So this will show that I'm learning things as we go along. GPT-3 could just
yeah, a company called
OpenAI.
It really trained a model on the entire internet as of November 2019. It has like 17 billion parameters. It's a company that Elon Musk started, and it's really one of the most advanced AI kind of models out there. And it's just mind blowing what you can do with it. The implications for processing, for marketing, for targeting specific kind of content, it's really become trivial to deploy, and it's fun to see it in real life.
Cool. So Bruce, from your standpoint, the management system, the hub of agents workflow, are you looking into AI, machine learning, things like that, from being able to create reporting, dive into the analytics, anything like that?
Definitely. It's definitely things that we're looking into. We probably are not real deep into that at this point yet, but it's what we're looking into. And also looking into other third-party vendors that we can work with and partner with that work with the agencies too, and making sure that if they've got things built before we do that can already do that, that we have the capability to have ways to share data with those. So when our agencies come to us and say they're looking to do these certain things, they heard about this particular vendor that's doing this, we can quickly spin up and be able to share their data with those kind of,
Okay.
work on a one-to-one basis with them.
Great. And I'll stick with you, Bruce, on this one. There's a couple questions that have come in, and they're very much the same. So I'm going to really kind of combine them. I brought up metrics and dashboards. Each of you had kind of touched on that. Are metrics and dashboards to understand the data primarily for the principals and leadership, I assume for strategic planning, or can the front line benefit too? I'm thinking they mean CSRs and producers. Bruce, from your standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of those kind of tools that can be geared toward the management side of things, being able to get a quick picture of how things look within the agency. But I'm sure others, as we do within our system, allow those dashboards to customize what type of data is there. Because there's certain kind of information the management is going to want to look at, and there's certain kind of information that the CSRs, the frontline people that are dealing with everything every day, there's things that they like to see quickly. So they're definitely used on both sides and definitely customizable to what you need, what will help you. There's no reason to have things on the dashboard that really don't help you. So make sure that you customize those to what you need and what helps you, and also look at what all the options are before you do that final customization for yourself too.
Okay. Aaron, from your lens, I know you provide a lot of different insights. How does that reflect to you?
For us, probably the biggest thing that we're seeing is a lot of focus on the quality of application data and then the implications for the business. So application data comes in maybe through optical character recognition, an app is scanned. Maybe the agency keys in the data, or perhaps it comes in through a digital storefront. And then you can see what percent of the questions are answered, the quality of them, the iteration on them. And there's implications with that around hit ratio and ultimately loss ratio for carriers. So it's kind of like the fundamental question of insurance, like what are you insuring? What do we understand about it? And we're getting to a point where there's multiple ways to really laser in and converge on better answers than we've had in the past.
Great. And that kind of answers or speaks to another question that I'm kind of combining in, where it's, what kinds of agency data are available that can be used other than by the data owner. So I think that speaks to that very well. Thank you. Dan, from your standpoint, I know agency KPI has several verticals when it comes to how agencies and others can use the data. So is it similar for you, where you've got some kind of data that's going to be very powerful and strategic, some that is frontline and can improve actions, can drive process improvement?
Exactly right, Ron. I think we have, deliverables that are going to deliver capabilities and a data view, if you will, to the network or broker. We have it then, that same data can then be visualized, if you will, down to the agency, because each one of them have different actions, right? The higher up is going to look more strategically, maybe portfolio analysis, or maybe a producer or CSR is going to be more account driven. So therefore the data has to tell the story for what they're trying to solve. We're even trying to build the same kind of data views back to a carrier, we'll say, so that you can get all three of them together, but each one of them has a different view of the world, if you will, because they all are in different fish bowls. And it's important that the data is reflected the way that the person needs to see it and utilize it. So that's really kind of the pinpoint of the what's on us, is to make sure that we make the data tell the story that the customer, that the user is looking to solve, versus the story that I think they want to solve. Perfect.
Thank you. So here's a high level question, and this is going to kind of require, I think, all of us getting behind it. And it's not a question what we haven't heard before. I think in closed discussion, how do we as an industry convince the powers to be to implement new types of policy downloads, such as cyber, farm, surety, and other bonds and benefits? This agency is saying that we've been asking for it for years, but haven't seen any growth since inland marine and crime were implemented. So Bruce, from your standpoint, and as management system owner, as someone who's very much involved or invested in process improvement, what do you see as the best way for people to drive that?
What we do with our agencies is when they come directly to us, we don't see that we have a lot of pull by ourselves going and talking, because we are not a customer of the carriers. So we talk with our agencies and let them know, talk to your representatives from the agency, talk to your reps, let them know what you want, let them know what you need. Tell agencies that you see at other meetings, tell them the same thing, because it's all about the numbers. When they get enough volume of people pushing for something, that's what seems to drive it, and it starts getting looked at. We're more than happy to, one of the things we've always done is we've been real open to work with carriers as they're working with new lines of business and new data transfers. We're more than happy to help verify that data as it comes down, that it's correct in that, but we need, the agencies have to be the push in that, because they're the customer of the carrier. So they need to let them know, and let other agencies that they talk to all the time do the same thing, get the numbers.
I agree. Dan, you've got a carrier background, wide carrier background. Do you agree with that?
I completely agree. I think the customer needs to ask for it. The agent needs to, say that this is important to them and this is what they can do with it. The hurdles for the carriers, in my experience, is the data standardized? Is it in a format that can be downloaded, right? So it may seem like it is, but maybe it's a free form kind of database or on a COBOL program that's not downloadable because it's not standardized and they can't pull the features. So there is some work for some carriers that they're going to have to build processes so that those policies could actually be downloaded. Now, if they can be downloaded, then there's another there's vendors in there. They're going to have to help with the download and normalize the data and then push it off to Bruce at NASA and some of the other management systems. But it all starts by just making it aware that it's a business problem that we need to drive towards, and that there is a value to providing that level of information.
Okay, all right. Aaron, I'll toss this one to you first, and then let Dan and Bruce jump in if they'd like. There was a question that was asked early on. Is there a standardization on data between carriers? Are there carriers that are more open to share because of silos of information, some that are not more open to share because of silos? And I'm asking you particularly because you kind of have a wider point of view.
Yeah, what I would say from our standpoint is that carriers have lacked the technology to be able to properly expose their products to the rest of the world. So standardization makes sense if you have a limited kind of legacy system and it's difficult for you to expose your data.
Right.
What we see is that if a carrier is open about sharing their data with their agencies, for example, and they have well-documented APIs, the standard debate kind of goes away. And most of the policy admin systems were made to process immense volumes of business, push policies through, not talk to the rest of the world. So as the internet is upon us and we are embracing a truly digital product set with the right tech and the right documentation, I think the standardization discussion literally dies.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. We've got time for one more question, and this is a pretty specific question. Now, Bruce, I'm going to toss it back to you as the proprietor, the CEO of a management system. The question is, what are some of the things best practice agencies are looking for or looking at in their management system, such as data like average umbrella limit, count in SIC categories? And this is coming from someone who has a small to mid-size agency. Is there one answer to that, or is that a larger best practices strategic type discussion?
It's really a much larger discussion, I think. Not just one particular answer to that. It's so different from agency to agency. They all deal with, so many of them have their own niche. They have, there's certain lines of business that they've really been successful at. So that's where their niche is. So anything around that line of business, the type of data they need to look at to get into their system, that's what they need to deal with. And then the next agency, so we definitely deal with issues like that with agencies calling and asking those types of questions, and sometimes they get really specific down to granular type of data on a particular type of policy, and we of course try to do what we can at that tiny level, but we also are looking at it from, we want to try to provide as much as we can across the board, no matter what type of policy it is. We are trying to allow them to keep track of all different types of policies within one system and do that in a good way that they can see all that data and use all that. So.
Perfect. All right, at this point, we're going to wrap it. Just so people know that are attending, all of this is being recorded, so it'll be available for playback after the ACT Tech Summit concludes tomorrow by the end of the week. I want to take this time to thank Aaron Larson of DAIS, Dan Goodwin of Agency KPI, and Bruce Dickoff of NASA. Thank you guys for your time so much for today.
Thanks for having us.
All right, everyone. We're going to drop off and end this session. Just hang in there and you can get back to the ACT Tech Summit virtual site to access the next session coming at the top of the hour titled Scaling Your Tech Stack. So we'll see y'all later. Take care.
Bye.